The second belief is that we all have something to give towards creating that change, right? Whether that's our time, our talents, or our treasure, or the money that we have. The last thing we believe is that when you give, you get something in return, right? So that's not meant to be when you make a donation, you get a t-shirt. What it really means is, and it's also not meant to mean you when you make a donation, you get a tax receipt, although you do when you give to a registered charity in Canada. What it really means is that like there's something in it for us. There's a personal mission to be fulfilled that we all have in life, and giving is a part of expressing that. And so I really do believe that when you give, you get something in return. Giving makes us better as people as much as it helps the organizations and the causes that we choose to support.
So, how exactly do you go about making a tremendous impact in the world? How do you maximize the way that you give and you give intentionally with the most amount of value to the most amount of people that deserve it? We're going to talk about leaving a charitable impact today. And we're joined by John Bromley, who's a CEO and founder of Charitable Impact. He grew up with charity at the core of his family values and he started a career in corporate finance. Now, he worked with some big name companies, of course. And then later on, he went to work with his father, Blake Bromley, and he's been recognized the need of having more access, more effective mechanism of giving to charities across the world. With that in mind, he decided to launch Charitable Impact. So it has an incredible mission. We're going to hear all about it today from John, exactly how we can leave a bigger impact in the world. We all want to give. Sometimes we just don't know how. And John's going to share with us how he's put a structure together that allows Canadians coast to coast to be able to give in the areas that they want and makes it simple and easy. John, we're excited to have you on Wealth Without Bay Street today.
Thanks so much for having me and for spending some time on, what I think is an important topic, certainly to me, but also to a lot of Canadians. So really glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, it's super great to have you, John. And we always we would encourage viewers and listeners just think about a time in your life, whether past or present, where you've given, whether it's you've given your time, your talent, your energy, your money to a cause or to an individual or to a family or to a community organization, and think about how that made you feel. And just that sense of fulfillment and that deeper sense of gratitude, which is a state that everyone should be in as often as possible. And I find that giving just triggers that. It triggers that deeper sense of gratitude and fulfillment. And John, walk us through like what inspired you to create this organization?
I think what inspired me the most was the recognition that there's really no objective sort of neutral place that works exclusively for the donor, regardless of how much money you have to give away, regardless of what causes you care about, or what ultimate charities you choose to support. So what I think is really important. And so, that kind of sounds like a bank, right? Like, the banks I work don't tell me what house to buy, what clothes to buy. They give me lots of tips and support along the way, and they provide me tools to make those decisions and to, be organized about things. So what inspired me to do that was that lacking in the marketplace, particularly for the average Canadian, who's not dropping like $1 million donations every year, right? People who are giving several hundred, several $1,000s away a year, no one really to support them to make their experience with giving as good as possible.
That, it just reminds me of, and Rich, you'll be familiar with this, and perhaps even yourself as well, John. Joe Polish, who founded the Genius Network, he often says that life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And so can you expand a little bit on the experience that a donor would have on your platform and maybe contrast that with, what you see most commonly that led you to creating it? Say, listen, I want to make this experience so much easier, so much more gratifying. Walk us through that.
Well, first, if I could comment on your quote there, which I love. I mean, so we have 3 beliefs at Charitable Impact, and the first is that everyone, like each one of us, has something that we care about creating change for in the world, right? And the second belief is that we all have something to give towards creating that change, right? Whether that's our time, our talents, or our treasure, or the money that we have. The last thing we believe is that when you give, you get something in return. Right. So that's not meant to be when you make a donation, you get a t-shirt and, necessarily, right. What it really means is, and it's also not meant to be when you make a donation, you get a tax receipt, although you do when you give to a registered charity in Canada. What it really means is that like there's something in it for us. There's a personal mission to be fulfilled that we all have in life, and giving is a part of expressing that. And so I really do believe that, when you give, you get something in return. Giving makes us better as people as much as it helps the organizations and the causes that we choose to support.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
win-win.
So it's a win-win. So in that regard, where do you go to learn about giving, right? Where do you go to get the tools and support? Generally speaking, that's what's missing in Canada. And so this is why we started Charitable Impact. So we act a lot like a charity bank. What that means is you come to Charitable Impact and you can sign up super easily, super quickly. It's all web-based.
Okay.
Or a giving account. It's charity nerds out there might recognize it as a donor advised fund. That's what it's called. But think about it like a bank account just for giving. So you get this account, it's yours. You put your money into it. And at that point is when you've made the charitable donation. So you get the tax receipt immediately. Now it's all stored in your account for you. So you don't have to worry about, finding them in your email come tax time, etc. And we can come back to it, but it's really important that people take the tax receipt and use it, right? And not to moralize too much about it, because the income tax act allows it, and it lets your giving be cheaper. So either you've got more money for other things, or you can give more away. Okay?
That's
so
the key.
Your tax receipts is important, right? Yeah. So we make that easy, and then that money sits there, and every single registered charity in the country is on our list, and you can find it. You can search for them. You can find them. You can learn a little bit about them. And then here's the key, I think. When you're ready, when you feel comfortable or confident in how you want to allocate that money, you go ahead and choose that charity, send them the money, choose whether you want to be anonymous or if you want to share your name with them, all the details along the way, and then it's done. So what's really important about the giving account, is the confidence that it can bring, the time and space that it gives you between your commitment to being a donor, giving some money away, call it $100 a month, whatever you're prepared to commit to. And then taking this time and space you need to feel really good about how you spend that money, what charities you choose, why, when, and how you interact with them. When donors feel more comfortable and confident with giving, they do it more. It's the same with cooking. It's the same with playing hockey. It's the same with, anything in life. The more comfortable and confident we feel in our experience with it, the more likely we are to sustain, doing it. And that's what's most important.
Oh, that's so true. I'll add to what you shared as hopefully a source of inspiration for other listeners and viewers, especially those who own and operate as small, medium-sized companies, the backbone of our Canadian economy. One of the things that we do in our organization is we have a profit sharing program, but the construct of that program is what we believe to be quite unique. So once a quarter, you look inside that profit sharing pool, and we take half of that pool and we distribute that to eligible team members. And then our team decides how to donate the remaining 50%, 50% of that profit pool. And so we see Charitable Impact as an opportunity for us as an organization to be able to say, not only is this simple in terms of creating this account and getting the money in there, but we also get to go through that list and decide as a team, where do we want that money going? And as a leader, I purposefully remove myself from that decision-making process because I don't want to be persuasive. I don't want to influence or steer where that money goes. But the reaction from team members is so gratifying to see when you ask, how does that make you feel? Amazing, fulfilled, joyful. Like the reactions that we get are incredible. And so for viewers and listeners, if you're looking for a very simple way to go about this and create that culture of giving, which also translates into outside of the work environment as well, I promise you it does, then Charitable Impact is the platform of choice. And the way you just described the simplicity of it, gosh, there's nothing holding someone back from putting that into place. And hopefully we've inspired a few business owners here to maybe embrace a model that's somewhat similar to what we do.
It's obviously been simple enough that you've been able to, through the efforts of the organization, John, you've been able to give over $1.1 billion worth of capital to deserve charities through the platform. That's an incredible, commendable feat that, I mean, just as a listener, just consider $1.1 billion being provided, voluntarily given through one mechanism that made it easy to deserve it at charities all across this great nation.
Well, thanks for saying that, and we're really proud of climbing over the $1 billion mark. What it really is a testament to, I think, is two things. First of all, we've got a really great team of committed people at Charitable Impact, right? People who choose to work in the sector, learn about charity and bring their own skill set to the table, right? Designers, engineers, customer service people, philanthropic advisors, so I'm really proud of the team. We've got a real great group of people. The second thing is like, who gave the money away, right? This is that 1.1, almost 1.2 now billion dollars has been given away by tens of thousands of different Canadian individuals and businesses, right? So we're just the tool, like not to just to take us away out of it, right? But we're providing the tool, right? And what's really important is making it easy so that people feel more comfortable and confident, in their giving journey, so that you remove kind of, we can use the sales objection word. If you remove all the objections, you remove all the excuses people throw out about giving, many of which are real and concerning, right? And sometimes they're real and sometimes they're perceived, because, charity literacy isn't super high in Canada, right? We've got a lot of generosity, but there's not really anywhere to go to learn about giving, right? So we don't necessarily know all the ins and outs, and if we don't practice it, we're not going to get any better at it. So it's really a testament to the Canadians who take, charitable giving seriously enough to continue to participate, and we work for them. That's who we get out of bed in the morning every day to work for. And it doesn't matter how much money you give, right? Our biggest accounts have north of 50, $60 million in them, and they hold complicated assets. Like they can hold real estate, private company shares, publicly traded securities, right? We can deal in crypto. We don't let you invest crypto, but you can donate crypto, but then, here I am, I've got a 10 and 11-year-old, two kids, and both of them have donor advised funds. And they don't even make money, so they don't donate their own money. But like the way you talked about your business, my wife and I put money into our own donor advised fund, and then we send it to $10 a month to the donor advised funds that our two kids have through a fully automated process, right? We call it a charity allowance, and our kids are getting involved, right? So what's culturally important about that's true to who we are at Charitable Impact is that giving's for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just for wealthy people, right? Wealthy people can give more. Oftentimes, depending on how busy they are, they have less time, right? Some people have more time to give, less money to give. That's all cool, but giving's for everyone. And at Charitable Impact, we just want to make it the best experience possible for you to be a donor and to get better over time at doing it.
That's so great. And is there, just from if you're dealing with a foundation, for example, can the foundation itself create the account?
Yeah, anybody can create an account, an individual, a corporation, or even a foundation. Now, what a donor advised fund is, for listeners who know what a foundation is, and there's a little charity 101 on this one. Sure, a donor advised fund, which acts like a bank account of charity. That's how you should think about it. That's one way to say about it. The other way to describe it is it's like your own personal foundation.
Yeah.
Right. But if you go into the marketplace, and my background has done a lot of this stuff, but if you came to me 10 years ago and said, "Hey, John, can you help me get a foundation registered?" Well, if you came to me today, I'd still help you do it. I'd probably try talking to the donor advised fund, because I think it's a smarter place to start. And then you can move towards the foundation. But when you create your own foundation, it's a corporation, you got to register it as a nonprofit, and then you got to file for it to gain its charitable status with CRA. It takes about 6 to 12 months, and it costs about $10,000 to $15,000 to get done. Then it's a corporation you got to maintain every year, right? So really, it's only for the 1% of Canadians, not even, right? But it's also a bit of a pain in the butt to maintain. However, it's a wonderful tool conceptually, because it allows you to be like, this is my vehicle just for giving. And I put all of my stuff in here, and then I distribute it from there. So I always know how much I gave. I know when I gave it. It's organized. I know where I gave it. I used to give more to the environment. Now I give more towards, healthcare. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. But all of that utility, which is very strong in a foundation, actually grows, in my opinion, with a good modern donor advised fund like Charitable Impact. Because not only do you get your own account with all that utility, but then you got like searchability. You can search charities, right? It's all automated. You can go into your iPhone or Android app and make it super easy, right? You can send money to other people for them to give away. I'm going to send you guys some money after this to say like, hey, thanks for the interview. Here's $50 each so that you can, so it can become a gift giving tool. And in that regard, you guys are already doing this at your business, which is brilliant. You're part of the game, first of all. So thank you. And you're a bit ahead of the game because you're saying to other people, like, look, this is our money that we're dedicating as a business. So you get the tax receipt. There's the financial efficiency for you, but then you're saying you can make decisions on where to distribute it.
Totally.
That's really important for buy-in, but also for charitable literacy, because when you start thinking about what you're going to give to and why, you're actually starting to create, your own sort of awareness of what you care about and why. And then when you start hearing what your friends care about and why, that's cool for two reasons. One is because let's hope they're into some cool things too, and you might find some synergy, but you also learn about people.
Totally. Yeah. You've literally played out exactly what happens at the roundtable with team members when they're having these conversations to say, hey, what's going on out there in communities across the country right now where we can be helpful, and all the great ideas that come up. But I think that I'll definitely, be connecting with you further just on the foundation front, because we're in that realm and we've created that for our family. And that's going to carry on, for future generations, as well as presently, what we have in the way of planning for giving. And so this I see is just a great, great way to bring simplification, tracking, to have this really, amplify with our children, and how, because we've been educating them on being givers for as long as they could grasp and conceptually understand, what we were describing. And so it's just, it seems like such a great, great platform. I'm going to create an account and go through that process, and we're going to do it for the company as well. Like, what a great way to simplify the tracking of everything too. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for saying that. Just on the company topic, if you work for Charitable Impact, I mean, we're charitable too, and have a similar mindset on culture to you, where we want our team members to choose, their own causes of choice, right? To get themselves engaged and have their own voice. So we use an automated matching tool at Charitable Impact. We invite our employees, and when they add money to their account, we're notified as the corporation, and we match their donation.
Oh, I love that.
In our case, we choose to match up to $100 a month. We also let them submit hours that they've volunteered, and then we give them $10 a month or $10 an hour up to a maximum of 100. I think I'm getting our policy right, to do that too. So really, it's not difficult anymore. It has been in the past with good tools. It's not difficult anymore to start developing a culture of giving inside whatever community you're in, whether, that's your family, right? Or whether that's your workplace, or whether that's your school or your book club, right? Or maybe it's not a community, but even just you yourself, right? And again, that's our real mission at Charitable Impact. We want to increase access to and participation in giving. And we've chosen to do that by being really focused on what we're good at, which is knowing how to help people navigate the charitable sector. And what we've learned over time is that because the fundraising, all the charities that fundraise, and there's lots of good people who do that work. There's lots of them though. What there isn't very much of, or none of, is someone who works exclusively for the donor, regardless of what charities they choose. And that's where we placed Charitable Impact and why we did it, because there's nowhere for people to go to get support for their giving, regardless of what it is. But there's plenty of places to go and get offered an opportunity to give your money away.
Yeah. Love that.
I love the idea of, again, tracking some of that volunteer time as well, and that you've built some mechanisms to kind of make that happen. And you'd indicated earlier, John, that all the registered charities presently, I think, in the country are kind of on the platform. So if a new charity gets listed or a foundation or something wants to be on the platform, do they need to come and seek somebody at Charitable Impact to do that? Or is there an automated way in the back end that you kind of can pull them into the database automatically?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so yes, there's an automated way, we go to charities director at the Canada Revenue Agency, a couple times a month, and we say, hey, send me us, they don't send it to me, send us your list, right? We have a team that takes that, gets that information in the database here. Like, that's a great question, by the way. So two things that come out of that, like, first of all, just to keep people's lives simple, like if you're a donor, don't spend your time, looking at the CRA site to see which new charities, come on board. Let an automated process, like, spend your time thinking about what you care about changing the world and how much money you're going to give away and how you're going to use your time to create change. That's my advice.
If you're any sane human, don't spend much time on the CRA's website.
That's right. That's right. And also, and the real point is spend the time where you're uniquely positioned as an individual to add value, right? On thinking about what you care about and why. But there's a little service we provide at Charitable Impact. Now, the second thing that's a little less obvious that's behind your question is that when you use an organization like Charitable Impact, you can't ever give. It's not possible to give to a non-registered charity, right? So whether it's a good charity or a bad charity, I mean, who even knows how to answer those questions? Like that, there's some obvious things that maybe make some charities bad and some things that make charities good. But generally speaking, that's up to the individual, right? So we won't tell you what's a good charity and what's a bad charity because we don't necessarily know, and you might not agree with us. But what we do is we guarantee 100% that every charity that's on the list is an authentically true registered charity. And as a result, you can't ever send money to a charity that's not a charity, right? So think about, a bit of an older school experience. Someone comes knocking on your door and they're asking for money. Okay, that's important stuff, by the way. But as the donor, how do you know that they're truly authentic and that the money's going to get there? Right. Yeah. In a system so what I do, by the way, there's 10 of my kids on doing is say, hello, thank you. Let's listen to what they've got to say. Let's hear the spiel, but then we'll take the document and we won't make a donation at the door. We'll go into our own conversation, log into into our impact account, right? With Charitable Impact, check out the charity. If it's there, then we'll decide to give to them. And if they're not there, phew, right? Or, maybe it's more complicated. They're a nonprofit or something like that.
Oh, that's so good. So good. And I just pulled up the website because that's going to remind me to create the account once we're done here. I was really looking forward to this interview today just to kind of get better educated on the platform.
Here's my disruption. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I need to edit this out. Okay, hold on.
No apology necessary. It's all good. Rich, like this
I'm
is
on this podcast. So can you just
perfect in terms of creating an account where we can track that and be able to create a matching process, like outside of the profit sharing element of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was thinking about the Nelson Nash Memorial.
Love you, bud.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry about that, guys.
No apology necessary. It's all good.
Yeah.
And so, John, what else should we know about Charitable Impact that we haven't asked you about yet?
We've covered a lot of practical ground, right? I mean, I hope it's really clear that we're here to work for the donor. So what we've really focused on building and what's obvious if you go to the website, or what should be obvious, that you can start this account and that the account is for you or your corporation and whatever you're signing up, as, right? But we do other things too, meaning but again, all focused on helping the donor. So we have, a dedicated team of people that we refer to as philanthropic advisors, and that sounds sort of highfalutin, for donor coach, right? But these are people who are passionate and knowledgeable about charitable giving the way I am myself. I consider myself a philanthropic advisor, part philanthropic advisor, part charity banker. That's my job description. But these are people who are, dedicated towards, helping the customer navigate the sector, right? So you don't need to have all the answers. And in fact, if you do, you're probably not thinking hard enough, right? There's lots of things that are charitable law that people don't recognize. Here, for example, Canada's, played in the World Cup of soccer. Did you know you could give money to Soccer Canada to help advance soccer in this country, right? And if hockey's your thing, there's what's called an RCAAA, Registered Canadian Amateur Athletic Association for hockey too, right? So these are qualified donees. These are things Canadians can give to. Did you know, I pay too many parking tickets in Vancouver, which is where I'm from, but did you know you can give money to your municipality?
What?
Right? And it can be, if you do it voluntarily, it's a donation, right? So every university, anything to do with education is charitable. Anything to do with relieving poverty is charitable. Anything to do with advancing religion is charitable, right? So art, environment. So the probability that a listener to this episode cares about creating change for something that's not charitable at law is very low. So the problem is, and why we build the platform, but then also why we provide, human support, is because navigating that and knowing what's out there isn't as simple as it should be. Now, part of why it's not simple, let's just talk about a problem in Canada and around the world, is that there's really nowhere to go to learn about giving, right? Do we expect engineers to come out of, our schools in Canada if we don't teach math? No, right? So why do we expect sort of, people who know how to act strategically on their generosity to come out of schools? I mean, we really shouldn't expect that, right? So in Canada, we don't have a problem with generosity. The problem is in how do we translate our generosity into strategic uses of our time and talent and treasure that we feel really good about, so that we keep doing it through life and make giving a part of our lifestyle. So that's a bit of a hidden mission for Charitable Impact. It's not hidden. I mean, here I am talking about it. What I mean is that below the rationale for the tool is solving problems that donors have. And secondly, it's creating a mechanism to develop and grow donors, because you can't just fish out of the pond all day long and not replenish, the stock.
Totally.
Yeah,
That
the
is so
result is more giving potential and an increased mindset awareness, which increases the giving potential, then more mindset awareness, and then more people, which increases giving potential. And it's a cascade effect of it's an impact that continues impactful nature on an ongoing basis.
So we invite, any listener and all Canadians, to check out the platform for themselves. But we also invite people to think about volunteering in a new way, because with a platform like Charitable Impact, you can start to become something like what we might refer to as an impact ambassador, right? Someone who helps their family or helps the corporation or helps the book club or helps, the youth group in the church to develop and practice stewardship, to develop and practice their generosity, right? So where there's people who are opinionated on and thoughtful and passionate about charitable giving, one of the things I really want to encourage those types of things to think about is how you can help nurture and develop donors around you. And what I want to encourage in that, just like with financial literacy, you're not trying to tell them where to give their money. You're trying to nurture their literacy on, how to approach giving money away to find as much joy and impact in it as possible, right? Everyone's going to make mistakes. I mean, even the best donors in the world give to organizations that don't, solve the world's problems.
Right.
So that last part is just this notion of when you have an objective tool platform like a charity bank, you can start to layer learning and development on top of it, both programmatically, like charitable allowance programs in schools, something that we've piloted at Charitable Impact, but also then take knowledge and passion out of community, where it exists currently, and give a voice to those people to start like mentoring youth or employers or soccer coaches on how they can start creating a culture of giving in and around what they're already doing. So, take charity to community and embed it inside, instead of just always fundraising from community towards charities. It's a different mindset. It's a different approach. And I think both are needed, but there hasn't been a vehicle or a tool to allow people to sort of nurture and develop generosity in a way that's really important to the individual, where they can speak their own voice of giving, right? Because it's sort of largely been all fundraising driven, right? Here's the one charity I represent. Here's why you should give to it. Are you in? Yes or no?
There you have it. Charitable impact. We've been impacted today.
It'd be cool to see a platform like this be able to even help on a very local level, like with the local school, as an example. There's a lot of parent advisory councils, the PAC, where they're raising things for things needed in a specific school. I think that's a little bit of a small potatoes item that doesn't quite hit the registered charity level to rank on the Charitable Impact site. But it'd be interesting to see how this construct that you built could also be, I don't make it sound easy, but drop shipped into even, smaller increments of that nature, maybe one day in the future, which is really cool. But John, absolutely love what you're up to. It's been phenomenal. And, as we reflect on everything that we've learned from you today, everything that you've been up to and what you've been doing and all the successes that you have for anyone who's on the YouTube, you'll recognize that there's a very colorful background behind John. If you're listening to the audio version, you won't see that, but it almost looks like a superhero scene. Now, John, you may not walk around Charitable Impact offices with a cape flowing behind you, but our question is, you may not know that you're a superhero, but clearly with $1.1 billion donated through Canadian environments on your platform, the platform that you've built and designed, the vision that you've had for it, you absolutely are showing up as a hero, at least in this country. And I can only imagine what Charitable Impact will begin to become as it begins to expand its reach. Our question for you is, who would you most like to be a hero to?
Wow. First of all, let me say I don't think of myself at all as a hero, but thank you for saying that. It's very humbling even to hear that. What I do is I apply my knowledge, and I know a ton about charity, right? Weird. There's a lot of things I don't know about, right? And I know quite a bit about, finance and accounting, sort of, the basics of economy and stuff. And I apply all of that, all of my energy into helping people, become better donors, right? So that's what I'm doing with my time. So I don't think of that as heroic. If other people perceive that to be heroic, thank you. And that's awesome. The person, I don't aspire to be a hero either. I should say, I just aspire to go to work and get stuff done and have fun doing it. But if I had to position myself who am I hero for? I want to be a hero for the average Canadian who sort of, thanks to Charitable Impact, right? It's not necessarily thanks to John Bromley, but thanks to Charitable Impact, started to fall in love with giving and made it a part of their lifestyle, right? That doesn't mean you have to take all of your inheritance and give it away. It means take some portion of your time and your talents and your money and start dedicating it towards the change that you want to see in the world, and do that over time. And what the change you want to see, you can change over time. So the people I want to be a hero to, and that I want Charitable Impact to be, to serve, is the average Canadian who knows that they want to create change in the world, but doesn't quite know how to do it, or does know how to do it and wants better tools and support to make it easier for them along the way. That's who we're here to work for. In other words, we're here to work for you guys. We're here to work for your team members. We're here to work for your listeners, right? And any of these people who are even thinking about wanting to create change should reach out to Charitable Impact. Talk to us. You don't just have to go through the web. We work for you regardless of how much money you give away, regardless of what causes you care about and what charities you end up choosing.
There you have it, Charitable Impact. And as John said, just head on over or reach out and connect and talk to them. And John, you've given a lot to our listeners and viewers today, and it's just been an absolute pleasure having you. And we're definitely going to have you back, because we're going to get this all set up for Ascendant Financial, our team members in what we do, and also for the Lowe Family Foundation of Giving. We're definitely going to connect with you further on that. And for all of our viewers and listeners, in particular, if you're on the YouTubes, you're going to see this playlist that just showed up. Click through the next video so that you continue your journey of learning. And thank you sincerely for tuning in. And for people who are listening on the podcasts, we appreciate you consuming our content and all your wonderful feedback. And we hope that this episode in particular serves as inspiration. We talk all the time about how to improve or expand your wealth and how to bring and create more abundance for your family, your businesses, whatever that may be for you. This is really an opportunity to give. And I'm not talking about giving back because you didn't take anything. I'm talking about just being a giver and really feeling the gratitude and the joy and the fulfillment that creates. And so, John, absolute pleasure. And all our viewers and listeners, make the rest of your week outstanding. Thanks for tuning in.